Alright, enough of that bollocks. Thank you, Handel. New microphone. Today we're going to be talking a bit more about his audience. We're going to do a couple of things. There's a couple of clips and a couple of things I want to sort of ramble on about for a bit. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something that I'll forget as well. But if I do, it's just more fuel for another video. So, yeah. Before I do, big ups to Necro Swanson. I want to know, what do you think? Anyway, let's get on with this.
Alright. So, ladies and gentlemen, how can you tip? If you look at the description of the stream, there's a link, or you can type !tip into the stream chat. That also works. I appreciate all contributions. I will give you a shout out no matter what kind of a contribution you do, as long as your contributions are positive and not trying to derail the stream or insult me. I have no obligation to say or do anything on my streams, but I'm greatly appreciative for all of your contributions, and that's why I go out of my way to try to give a shout out to every single one that comes in. Okay?
Just quick, before we go any further, I do love that he says that one of the conditions for your chat being read out is that it's not derailing the stream, and it seems to me that if you wanted to, you know, encourage a sort of organic group of supporters, you'd want them to be able to chat about a lot of things freely. So you wouldn't necessarily say you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, and you can't talk about the other. Insulting, yeah, fine, I get that. Nobody wants somebody to, you know, send them a message that goes, hey, you're a cock. But not derailing the stream is something else, because derailing can mean a lot of things depending on what is being talked about at the time. If Phil's talking about playing like MLB The Show and somebody else starts going on, hey Phil, did you see the Nintendo Switch announcement for Smash Brothers or something like that? That's technically derailing the stream. It's not talking about MLB. It's not talking about Phil. You know, it's something else, bringing in something else. Politics as well. Politics is another thing that could be massively derailing. But for him, it's, you know, derailing is whatever I determine it to be. It's whatever I don't want to answer. So it's a nice way of keeping control, and it's a nice way of being vague enough that you have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to actually giving definitions. You know, it's just one of those word choices that stands out to me. It's almost insecure. It speaks to an insecurity. It also speaks to ego. Let's be honest, you're not talking about me, you're talking about something else, therefore you are derailing the chat. So yeah, I could talk for fucking hours about his use of language. It's all over the place, but another video, another time.
Alright, so I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Also,
what's hilarious is that you get someone like Sammy Wonders is paying $9,000 a month in bills.
Right, here we go.
If you actually add up an actual fucking household's bills in a month, $9,000, you know, think about a mortgage, condo dues, taxes, food, utilities. Guess what, bro? It adds up. I hate to tell you this.
Guess what, bro? That's a legitimate criticism, let's be fair. By any stretch, by any measure, saying if you've set this amount as a minimum, then that means over a month it adds up to this, so you're expecting this much to live on. That's a legitimate criticism. That's a fair enough thing for somebody. And this guy is not a regular. I'm assuming this guy is new, because I've not seen the name about, and I think it's one of those that's like, am I coming in to just question him, or am I potentially a new fan? And he doesn't know that. So he should always operate under the assumption that it's a potential new fan. But he's so paranoid that he doesn't. He instead operates on this person is coming in to challenge me. They're trolling, you know. Everybody that's new that I've not verified is a potential troll. So he's automatically on the defensive here. And again, like with, I think I mentioned it in like the first video, the way he's spoken to and the way he interacts with people means that instead of just conversing normally, he's being questioned, so he's automatically defensive. So when somebody brings in a legitimate criticism, he automatically deflects it away, because to him it's an attack. It's you going for him, and he can't handle that. He's incredibly defensive. As a narcissist, he's incredibly defensive, and he doesn't like being challenged, especially not here. This is his kingdom. You know, these are his followers. These are his loyal subjects. How dare you criticize him in front of them? You know? And that's why he has such a defensive response. That's why he immediately sort of lashes out at somebody who, you know, as far as he knows, could be a potential new fan who would give him more money down the line. But instead, he's pushing them away. And that's why his group has whittled down smaller and smaller. And I'm going to come back to that later because that matters.
It really does. You don't realize that because you're probably living in your parents' basement, you know, paying nothing. You probably don't even have a job. And you're going to sit here and criticize.
Ooh, all that projection. I drew that with a projector. I could have just used Phil himself. But seriously, the way he projects, the way he those are his values, you know. He understands that is like the gamer concept. That is the stereotype of a gamer. And therefore, if you are coming to him as a gamer, you're probably after that sort of thing. So you probably are that thing. You probably are a gamer in some way because you're coming to him to watch him play games. So he's allowed to grab that stereotype and weaponize it against you if he doesn't like you, because he can't countenance the idea that you're not. He can't consider the possibility that you're just some person. You are just a regular person who has their own job and relationships and friendships, and, you know, maybe you don't live in your parents' basement paying nothing because maybe you're an adult. Maybe you're a student in halls. Maybe you're an older person who's retired and fucks about on YouTube for a bit. You could be anything. But to him, if you hate him, you are automatically a no-life loser living in your parents' basement, because he can't possibly figure that somebody else who does have positive, healthy relationships might hate him. You're coming in purposefully to hate him. You must therefore be a no-life loser. You can't have possibly had any sort of legitimate criticism of him yourself.
You don't even understand. You don't even understand.
You don't understand. You don't understand. You can't possibly understand what it's like to be Phil. You can't possibly understand what it's like to have bills and have to work for money and have to spend a lot of time doing your job and have a wife and a cat. You can't possibly understand Phil's position. Therefore, you must be against it. You know? And again, that's how he's justifying his defensiveness. That's how he's justifying his sort of attack back at you. He is Darvoing you, and this is why. You know? He's flinging everything back at you now. He has reversed the roles because he's now on the attack, and you are fucking having it. Because you can't understand what it's like to be him. His stresses, his worries, his strains, they're all legitimate and justified as far as he's concerned. So he's going to defend his reaction to them. He's going to justify his behaviour by attacking you instead. Because how dare you criticise them? How dare you call into question the veracity of them? How dare you, in his kingdom, ask him why he needs $9,000 a month to live on?
How much it could be. Now, I'm not saying it's $9,000. I don't know. I'm not sitting here.
That is mental to me. I didn't mean to pause it straight away there, but he just admits he doesn't know how much his bills are going to be. He's nearly 40 and he doesn't know what his monthly outgoings are, even though he's had to declare bankruptcy, which means he's had to itemise his outgoings. I seriously, I've mentioned this in a couple of comments here and there, but I seriously am beginning to doubt the existence of this business degree, because he's just so bad at anything to do with accounting. He's like, you don't need me. You've got Brittany Gates. I'm sure she's better at explaining this than me, but every business decision he's made has been the wrong one. And every time he's had a potential to make a correct business decision, he has fucked it up. And he's just so bad at accounting, you know? He's never budgeted until now. It's fucking mental to me that he has a business degree. So I think it's just like an induction course. When he went for his job at the helicopter company, they made him do a course, and he got a certificate at the end of it that said, you know, you're now qualified to, you know, provide advice to pilots of these helicopters or something like that. And he's like, fucking great, I've got a degree. And I think it's that. And I think over time it's become a business degree. over many retellings. You know, it started off as a way to just sort of like talk it up to his mates, but now it's taken on a life of his own because he's famous on YouTube. So yeah, I'm starting to doubt the existence of this business degree. I think it's just some, like, a certificate for doing an induction at his job.
I'm here doing the math in my head, but you have no clue.
Why?
But that's it. Immature people with no actual experience or concept of money want to sit here and criticize. Well, why don't you try to fucking maintain a household like I did?
It's not, people manage on less. People manage on less. I don't earn like $108,000 a year. It's not difficult to do it. The fact that you're bad at it doesn't mean other people can't do it. You know, the fact that you think you need $9,000 a month to live doesn't mean other people can't live on less, because other people are fucking living on less. That's why it's so galling that people give you money, because other people need money. Other people are poor. Other people are jobless and staring at, like, actually losing their houses and things because of how the coronavirus pandemic has affected them. And here you are expecting $9,000 a month so you can sit on your ass and play games. That's why people have a problem with whales. You know, that's why people have a problem with, like, OIC. That's why people question why people like OIC give him money. Because in this world, in this day, it's fucking obscene that he gets what he gets. I need to start separating the detractor me and the psychologist me, because the two are getting like quite close at the moment. So. Right, I'm sure there was something I've skipped. I'm sure he skipped over something. Wait, it's coming up. Yeah.
All right. Because I guarantee you, this guy doesn't do shit. He says, "I do understand. Thanks for picking on me." Well, you picked on me first.
There you go. You picked on me first. You can't just offer a sort of like, "Hey, Phil, why do you need this much?" That's immediate attacking. That's picking on him. You're immediately going for him there. You know, he can't comprehend that it's a legitimate question to other people, because he's so entitled that he expects this much, and his audience should expect to have to give it to him because they've been around for this long. They know the drill by now. If they fucking don't, he repeats it every morning on the fucking pre-stream. And here he is reversing the roles again. The preceding couple of minutes where he's attacked this guy, called him a no-life, saying he's living in his mother's basement, don't know what he's going on about, how dare you, you can't fucking budget for a household. He's attacked that. He's attacked him already with all that. Just in response to, well, actually, I'm pretty sure we've got the comment, you know. Let me bring it up here, because I was watching this on Dark Dave's Mirror. So, give me a sec. Actually, for you lot, it'll be as quick as this.
All right, so I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Right, there it is. Do you see it here? Why do you need $9,000 a month? That's it. There's no attacking there. There's nothing malicious there. It is a straightforward question. Especially if you, as a person watching this, are going to be constantly badgered to give him money. You're going to want to know why. But somebody who has a business degree as well. Phil is really bad at understanding this core concept that when you are aware that you're being sold something, you're immediately, you have your guard up. You know, I won't say you become defensive, but you become aware of, this person is trying to convince me to do something that I, you know, may not ordinarily do. So it may, you know, buy a product that you wouldn't normally buy, you know, or sign up for a phone tariff that you wouldn't otherwise sign up for. You know, it's being sold something puts you on the back foot. It makes you defensive because you're aware that claims are about to be made in order to try and convince you to do something. So you're preparing to critically analyse them. So when Phil has spent a good 10 or 15 or even 20 minutes talking about why you should give him money and how you can give him money, it's a fair enough question for somebody who's coming in for the first time to be sold this and to say in response, why? Especially if you're new and you're not familiar with all of DSP's lore, all the backstory. And again, assuming as Phil should be, that this person is a potentially new fan who's just stumbling into his stream for the first time. Phil should approach this differently, and he doesn't. The fact that he's immediately defensive and calls this question, why do you need $9,000 a month, as attacking. His ego can't take it. He can't handle dissent as well. You've publicly challenged him there as far as he's concerned, so he's immediately going to lash out. But the fact is, that's not attacking. That is a simple, straightforward, acceptable question in this circumstance for somebody, and he just can't accept it. His ego, his narcissism won't allow him to accept any form of criticism, and to him that's an attack. You are personally attacking him over his financial state. You are attacking him over the amount of money he says he needs. You are attacking him over his financial decisions, everything as far as he's concerned. He just needs to justify the following attack. He needs to justify the following lashing out. And so that's what he does. You're not asking him a question. You're attacking every financial decision he's made ever by asking that question. And let's see the response further on. Again, I'm going to skip on, but for you people watching after the edit.
He says, I do understand. Thanks for picking on me. Well, you picked on me first. So it goes hand in hand. Thank you for picking on me first and trying to make a joke out of my life, because I really appreciate that.
See, you're picking on him first. You're not just asking him a question. You're picking on him first. Because he's always being asked questions, so he's always on the defensive whenever he gets asked one. But it's just... I can't even begin to accurately describe how frustrating it is, because in this position your response should be different, because you're nearly 40. You know, you shouldn't need to respond this way to somebody asking you why you need such a significant amount. That is a lot. That is a lot of money, $9,000 a month, that you expect your cumulative audience to provide for you. And instead he attacks. He doesn't handle it like an adult should, let's be honest. He doesn't handle it in a way that you or I would. Most of us would, you know. He doesn't de-escalate the situation either. If somebody comes in picking on him, again, picking on him, he has the opportunity to de-escalate it. He can deflect. He's good at deflecting, let's be honest. He's fucking good at deflecting. He should be able to bat that away. But he attacks instead. The opportunity for de-escalation, as a mature adult would, the opportunity to kill that there, he pisses on it and instead attacked this viewer. And it's like, how are you nearly 40, mate? You've not socialised enough. Let's work through this. You've not socialised enough. You might say that you have people outside of the internet. You might say that, you know, you do go out and see people. But we know where you are 6 days a week, you know. I don't mean to sound like quite stalkery when I say that, but you stream twice a day, 6 days a week. You make a point of it. You emphasise all the time how much work you're doing at home in your office. So that's where you are 6 days a week. You are not going out during those 6 days. You are not interacting with people in those 6 days. You've got your wife who also leads a similarly sheltered life. You don't socialise enough outside of that tiny little bubble. You need an extended social circle. You need friends through work, friends that you've known for a while. You need friends through each other. You need friends through your parents. You need relatives. You need your cousins and your aunts and your uncles. You need a wide group of people to properly socialise, so that when you're approaching 40 and somebody asks you about your finances, you can handle it in a way that doesn't involve calling them no-life losers and telling them that they don't know how to budget when they have stated in the chat that they live off $2,000 a month. I am biting my tongue here.
And it's funny when I turn the tables on you, how you react negatively, because, you know, you can't take what you dish out.
Oh yeah, it's fine for him to react like that, but when you react like that, that's the problem. That's the failing. That's the moral flaw there. It's funny how you can't take it when I give it to you. Not that I shouldn't be giving it to you in the first place because I'm an adult and I'm the one who's in, I'm the one who's in the position of authority here. This is my stream and I should be able to act in a mature and responsible way because I've been responsible for the content that I've been putting out for the past 13 years. But when you turn it back on somebody, especially when they're an audience member, you are not acting in an age appropriate way. You're not acting in a way that's socially acceptable because you haven't been outside. I'm amazed at how much comes back to this. I know it's a significant problem, but I am amazed at how much comes back to this, that he just doesn't go outside at all. It's astonishing to me. I know I'm also leaning oddly. I'm opening the bottle of Lucy. But yeah, his attitude towards criticism is reflective of an incredibly insecure person because he just can't take it. He really can't take it. He immediately lashes out. He's immediately aggressive and defensive because narcissists can't handle criticism. They just can't. It's, everything needs to be your fault then. Everything is your fault. You're the one who's wrong. You're the one who's attacking them. You're the one who's being negative. You're the one who's spreading bullshit and making up conspiracy theories. You can't question him about something. You can't say, "Hey Phil, if you want my money, would you mind telling me why?" I'll give you a couple of quid, but I want to know why you need so much. It's quite a lot. You're an asshole. You don't know anything. You don't know how to budget. You're living in your parents' basement. Fucking mental.
I mean, that's how it works, right? Everyone on the internet who's a bully is really a pussy in real life. That's why you do it. I mean, why else would you do it anonymously over the internet? Let's be honest.
That's a bit of a bit more projection for you there. Everyone who's an asshole on the internet is a bully. You're a bully. You can't just be a person asking a question. In what way is why do you need $9,000 a month bullying? It's not. It's not after 20 minutes of here's how you can pay me. Here's how you can give me money. I would ideally like it in this form because then I don't have to wait a month. Why do you need so much? You fucking bully. Defensive. It's a narcissistic ego on the edge because he's so immediately defensive. It's not it's not praise that you are giving him. It's not rapturous odes to joy that he has brought into your life. It's not, what's the word I'm after here? Fuck. You're not prostrating yourself. I definitely don't want to confuse that with the other one. You are not, giving him your unyielding, unyielding. It's an unsomething word anyway. You're not giving him praise, therefore you're attacking him. And he's feeling like that because as a narcissist he's feeling challenged, his ego is feeling threatened, so he's immediately defensive in response because that's the only way you can handle that. It's the only way you can process that sort of thing. He can't, through a combination of isolation, lack of socialization, and his untreated, almost clinical at this point, personality disorders, he's not developed the appropriate methods of dealing with that sort of information. Most of us can. Most of us learn how to accept criticism and not take some things personally, and we can understand when a fair question is being asked and somebody's taking the piss. We can work out the differences between those two. I need to hold my hands higher when I'm doing this. Most of us learn how to do that through a combination of socialization, encountering criticism in the first place, because a lot of us don't have a choice sometimes. We can't quieten our chat. We can't always ban people from our lives. Sometimes we have to work with people who will criticize us. Sometimes we have to put up with them if we're going through various life events. sometimes friends will do it because they want to help you, and sometimes it's going to be tough to hear it, but most of us can get over it. Most of us can come to terms with it and accept it and learn how to process it in healthy ways. But Phil can't. His narcissistic ego is just too fragile now. Yeah, he really needs treatment.
If not, you'd be a big shot in real life. You wouldn't have to bully and pick on people on the internet anonymously. I mean, come on now. What do you think was going to happen?
See, again, you're doing it to everybody on the internet. It's not just him. You can't just be asking him a question. You must therefore be doing it to everybody on the internet. That's your sole reason for existence, is to bully people online, because you've got nothing else in your life. Because otherwise, you won't be in Phil's stream asking him why you need $9,000 a month to live. It's so bizarre, because it's so emblematic of how fragile his ego is. And it's also a really good way of keeping control of his fans, because it's a good way to say, look at them all, assholes. You don't need them. Why would you go and hang out with them? They're all dickheads. They're all morons. Look at them just spinning like anything I say into toxic bullshit. You know, they're coming up with conspiracy theories. I mean, do you remember Christmas when they thought I had a hooker? So, you know, fuck them. You don't need them. Stay here with me. Let's play Mario Golf and you can give me money. It's a good way of controlling your audience, because it paints the alternative viewpoint in an incredibly negative way. And I did choose that word on purpose. Never forget.
Nigger. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, that was pretty good. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you in advance for any contributions. I appreciate it. I am looking forward to a great stream with you guys today, and hopefully we can make some progress. And in regards to game news today, I really don't got much for you.
Right. Here's another clip that I want to look at. I don't want to stare at Phil all night, though. So I'm wondering if it's better to talk about this now and leave his... Right, okay, yeah, let's do it now. Fuck it. There's a set of theories that are collectively known as social identity theory, and they all look in various ways at how we build our personality and our sense of identity, our personal identity, and you know, who we feel that we are from our various social interactions. And I don't just mean like talking with your mates and talking with your family and all that. I mean, it expands out into basically everything. The way you pick the brands that you wear in order to signify your membership of a particular group or subculture. Things like that. These are all ways that you build your social identity. Where you get your values and your beliefs and your opinions from, which groups and how much of those things you take into yourself personally, and how much you discard, and where you get the rest, and all sorts of things like that are generally considered social identity theory, because they all involve you building your personal identity in relation to a group somehow. Like, I wear Converse trainers because I just like Converse trainers, you know. But I'm aware that they're associated with a couple of subcultures, and I'm fine with like metalheads wearing Converse. I know metalheads tend to wear like boots and things, but you know, if you look at the front cover of Pantera's first album, if you look at the cover of Cowboys from Hell, they're wearing Converse. They thank Converse in the liner notes. So, you know, for the longest time I thought, fuck it, if it's good enough for Pantera, it's good enough for me. But, you know, I've got leg problems now, so I don't so much. But, you know, I do also express my membership of the subculture in different ways. I have long hair. I wear, you know, bracelets that are leather and studded, and you know, I wear heavy metal t-shirts. That's how I express my identity. That's my social identity. So social identity theory encompasses a lot of things, and one of the things it will encompass is internet subcultures as well, because it has to now. Internet subcultures are a thing, and one of those subcultures in the broadest sense of the term, in the academic sense of the term at least, will be Phil's fans. They'll be DSP's fans. Let's call them the hate army, because I know it winds him up. And I'm really pissed off about this. I fucking love curry, and he explained what a curry is. Oh. So anyway, yeah, Phil's subcultural group, the hate army, they will have behavioural standards. They will have behavioural norms. They will have certain opinions that are acceptable to express in the group, and they will have certain opinions that aren't. They will have certain behaviours that are okay and certain behaviours that aren't. And in response to being part of that group, you get those parts of your identity. You will take on the behaviours and the beliefs of the group and express them because you want to express your membership of that group, because it's your social identity, or it's at least part of it. You can have other things as well. You can be a Star Trek fan and, you know, collecting figures and watching movies regularly and, you know, marathoning the series and having your own replica Starfleet uniform and going to conventions and things like that. They can all be part of your identity as well. And then every now and then you come and watch Phil streams and give him a couple of bucks, you know. And you can also be you could be the Star Trek fan who watches Phil and who is also into like woodworking or metalsmithing because you like going out and LARPing because you're a D&D nerd. You can basically have a combination of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole composite of your life. But for Phil's fans, it obviously takes up quite a bit of their life, because by this point they're going to have stuck around for a bit. You look at Phil's, well, it's difficult to go with subs because obviously a lot of his numbers on Twitch were inflated by gifted subs, and here he's not been here that long, so there's a massive, you know, there was him using YouTube for a bit, and then there was a big chunk as he shifted over to Twitch, and now he started again, so it's slowly climbing. I think it's actually probably peaked now. I think he's probably going to really struggle to match 200. I feel like that's been a more consistent number over the last few years, but if you look at it anyway, he has been declining constantly, but he's very rarely had influxes of new people. I'm sure someone at the farms has probably done this. I might actually have a look beforehand while I'm editing and put it up here if they have. But generally, I'm pretty safe in my belief that it has been a gradual downward slide, and there have been few possibilities where Phil has had a spike in viewers that he could then retain and delay the decline. So by this point, with fewer and fewer new people coming in, the remnants are going to mainly be people who have endured for most of the years. There are going to be people who have stuck with him a lot, so they are going to have more and more of their social identity invested in Phil because he encourages it. He encourages them to view their participation in his streams as part of their life somehow. It will be, thanks for your support, you guys are why we did it. The vest streak, you guys have helped with the vest streak, so you guys, you know, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you guys. I'm grateful for all the support from you guys. He encourages their participation, and as they do, as the years go by, his chat does, you know, it develops its own weird behavioural quirks. Every subculture does. Detractors do, you know. Almighty Egg Gang. See, detractors do. Detractors have subcultural identities and values as well. They have their own sort of like beliefs. There's a standard set of beliefs, and there are terms and phrases we use to sort of like symbol and communicate to each other. You know, we'll joke about certain things and we'll leave, you know, our favourite quotes in response. So in that sense, Phil's group are even more emotionally invested because, unlike us as a wider detractor community that's not really centred around one person commanding us to give us money, because we're on the opposite of that, you know. But we're not involved that much. We're not involved emotionally. This is actually more casual for us because we're not being coerced and manipulated into constantly turning up and giving him money. I catch a stream. If I catch a stream, then I'll tune in, but I don't sort of set my life around it. I normally just catch up through other people over the next couple of days. But Phil's group, Phil's audience are now really conditioned into being part of that stream. Like, they'll message each other if they're not going to be there. They'll say, hey, I'm coming in later, you know. they have ways of shouting out to each other. You know, they all know who each other is. They all know who Snow Carl is. They all know who Only Iced Coffee is. You know, they all know the bigger players of the bigger fish in the pond, the bigger whales in the ocean, as it were. So that, you know, through the years that has developed, and that is a sort of subcultural identity because it has its own expressions of community and identity. It has its own little in-jokes. They have their own little like key phrases and things and slogans. So they are deeply emotionally invested in Phil now because he has encouraged them, and because he's encouraged them for so long, it's become part of their social identity. And that's key to understanding why some people do stick around and defend Phil. There are, I would imagine, a couple of people are sort of detractors undercover, I guess. If you want to say that, I would imagine there's a couple there, but they're probably not giving him as much money as somebody like OIC, who probably is legitimately involved in Phil and probably thinks this guy is akin to a friend because I socialise with him daily. And he needs a couple of quid out of me. You know, I'm a good friend. I'll help him out. I'll chuck him a couple of quid here and there. Well, a couple of bucks, you know. And obviously he is okay with that because he's socially invested in the idea of being a fan of Phil, of being in the Hate Army. So when you look at why people are fans of him, when you sort of see him like abusing them and being a shit to them, you have to sort of look at what Phil's fans get out of it in return. And basically Phil is extraneous to that. What they get out of it is their interaction in Phil's chat. And they get the sort of, if I've given him $10, the chat thinks I'm great. Because Phil's highlighting me and saying, thanks for that, I really appreciate it. That was a good thing. The chat responds positively as well because Phil has said, hey, this is a good thing. So the person giving the money gets the, wow, everybody in this group that's important to me likes me. They think I'm doing a good thing. And the person that I really like also likes me. So him saying that he likes me makes other people like me. So that's great. People like me here. So there's always a deeper psychological well, I guess fulfillment that people are getting out of this relationship with Phil. It's not always a case of I am indebted to him, or I am a masochist that likes giving him money, or I am a pay piggy who knows his place, or there is undoubtedly manipulation and abuse going on with Phil between him and his audience, but there is also advantage. He is taking advantage of their emotional investment in him because he's encouraged it for so long and he knows that's how they give him money. He obviously preys on them and manipulates them, but as far as they're concerned, they may legitimately believe that they are helping him. You know, they are helping a friend who's down on his luck and has had a run of bad luck, and there's a bunch of people who outrageously slander him at every opportunity for no reason, you know, other than they're all weird and, you know, the world fucking sucks because he's had problems with Twitch and YouTube and all that shit. People may genuinely believe it. I know it sounds difficult for us to understand and accept, but they may genuinely believe it. And when they help Phil, they get the warm, reassuring feelings that they've done a good thing, and the people around them all think they've done a good thing. So there is always a psychological desire being fulfilled. These people may be lonely, they may be, you know, housebound, they may be disabled and not able to get out as much. They may genuinely be naive, they might be young, they might just have nothing else going on in their life, and Phil fulfills that emotional need in them, that psychological need in them for a group to belong to, a place to call home, you know, a group of friends in a chat. So yeah, that's always a thing that especially when it's someone like OIC who drops a lot of money, I always think, what are you getting out of this? You must be getting some sort of psychological need fulfilled, but what is it, you know? So yeah, that's one point that I wanted to raise. Let's move on to the next clip, which again will just be
the Ziggy Piggy's back. Snowcrawler, you're not the first person to ask that. I will answer
here
that
we go.
question
Now he's talking
as
about
honestly
WWE
as I can.
champion. So he's a
He
piece
says,
of
can
shit.
we do a special fundraiser stream
You
so
piece
can
of
buy an
donkey
Xbox
shit.
Series X?
How about this?
No. And here's
How about
why. This is me being honest with you.
WWE
Here, I'm going to
champion.
show you my face to answer this question.
This is from Dark Dave's Mirror, so there's another sound file going over it. I apologise. He's been asked if he would do a marathon stream to raise money for an Xbox Series X. So
Right now, no exaggeration, no lying. I'm in a bad financial position. I have to raise as much money as I possibly can on a daily basis just to pay my bills. It would be incredibly irresponsible for me to do a special event to fundraise to buy an Xbox Series X when I'm not paying my bills. You see what I'm saying? I have to pay all this stuff, this mortgage coming up, bills right after the mortgage, all before I get paid by YouTube this month. It would be the most ridiculous, irresponsible thing for me to do a special event, let's buy a console, but I don't pay my bills. You see? I can't do that. But morally, it's wrong, and quite frankly, legally, you would think that I'm tied more to pay the bills that I owe than buying a console for myself. So, no, I'm not. I can't do that. You know, until everything is paid off and okay, I can't be doing that stuff, man. Now, if someone were to buy me an Xbox Series X and send it to me, well, then that wasn't any money that was in my hands or anything, and therefore that would be okay. But no, I can't have fundraisers or people sending me money to buy an Xbox Series X. It has to go towards the things that have to be paid. Okay?
see, right there. Obviously, you know how ridiculous that is. Obviously, you know the hint that's going on there. That's him directly taking advantage of the generosity, I guess, the willingness to give of his fans. Obviously, this is a big ask, so this is going to be different than, you know, let's raise $100 so I could put on the vest. This is a much bigger ask, even though I suppose if you went over a week, it's not. You know, this is actually cheaper than making him hit the vest goal for a week. But he never says that. Interesting. But obviously the hint is there, you know, it's his way of portraying the next need. It's, even though he's outright explicitly refusing it, he's saying, now if you were to buy it me, then that's fine. Because, you know, I'm too poor. I've got too much money. I've got too much bills to pay. That's a fucking Freudian slip right there. I'm too poor. I've got lots of bills. All my outgoings need, you know, all my money is gone, and you know, all these bills are due before I get paid, and you know, I can't budget. I don't know how much I have to pay every month. But if you wanted to buy me an Xbox, you know, it's like with all the subtlety of a kid begging at Christmas and leaving the item circled in the Argos catalogue open at that page in the bathroom. And so it's his way of, it's the same mechanism, it's the same way of, you know, let's hit the vest goal. It's just a much grosser level because it's such a bigger ask. You know, it's an Xbox Series X. It's a chunk of money for somebody. Somebody like OIC might be okay with, you know, giving him £100, but, and it's not normally 100. Normally he's got like between $12 and $20 or something like that. So they come in and drop like $25 and then another 50, and then boom, he's hit the goal. But you know, that's very, very different. That feels different than here's the $500 all at once for an Xbox Series X, or however much it costs. It's a much bigger chunk. It's a much bigger ask. So he plays it more. He does repeat it more alongside the usual stereo broken record of here's how you can tip me, and I prefer it in tips than, you know, super chats. But this, he needs to hammer home a bit more because it's such a big ask. He's probably not going to win. He's probably not going to get an Xbox. But there's no harm in taking that shot because, like I mentioned previously when I discussed sunk cost, it was conformity. Sorry. How most people will eventually break down and end up believing your side. About 76% chance of somebody finally breaking. You know, well, probably not in this case. But again, you take the odds, because what have you got to lose? If you say, I'm not going to get it, and I don't expect anyone to, but if someone does, that's great. You're probably not going to get it. That's fine. But if you do get it, fucking great. You've got it. So, and also, it's a good excuse if you then do go out and buy one. It's a good cover. Because you've said, look, I mentioned it here. I would accept one if somebody buys it for me. And somebody did. They were anonymous. They didn't want their name given out because they feared trolling. But yeah, I've got my new Xbox now. Thank you for donating that. Just like somebody donated the Switch and the PS4 Pro and probably a couple of other consoles as well. It's the same mechanisms of manipulation, but he's hammering it a bit more because it's a bigger ask. And I do think he's more likely he's setting up for, I'm going to buy an Xbox in a couple of weeks and I just want to lay the groundwork now so that when I do get an Xbox I can say, look, I mentioned here. So I think it's that more than actually thinking if I ask enough somebody will buy it. There's always that chance, there's always that possibility, but I'm really just preparing for going out and buying one.
Okay.
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 Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Remember, we're going to take a quick break here.
There is one other thing, actually, Phil, now that you mention it. There is something else I wanted to talk about. I will skip to another clip, though, because I've got one more thing to sort of go through. And I will do it like this.
Miss Tipper, we don't know who it is. It has to be Only Iced Coffee. Oh, it has to be this person or that person.
It's not. It could be someone just coming in, enjoys the content, and every once in a while, they want to support.
Yeah, and your reaction to that, if they ever ask a question, is outright hostile. We saw that earlier. Somebody asked, why do you want $9,000 a month? And you responded very, very badly. You were outright hostile to them. So it could be someone new who's coming by the stream, but your attitude is likely to drive them away if they're new and they're sort of adjusting to how things are and they question things like why your goals are too high and why you need so much money. So, yeah, not buying that argument, Phil.
You have no right to be claiming it's one person or the other and trying to make conspiracy theories up. It's messed up. It really is, because then people feel bad. They're like, oh, so I contribute, but people are always going to say I'm someone else. You know, that's not right. Animation. Nikita did a super chat, says, Phil, I found out about you recently. I wound up liking your content. Cheers. I like how he says he wound up. You know, I thought everyone said you suck, but I wound up liking you. Well, thank you, G. Nikita.
Yeah, see, that's why it's a snarky message. Oh, I wound up liking your content. It's a bit casual, that, and you're automatically a bit narked about it. You're a bit like, oh, I wound up, thanks. You know, it's the sort of thing that you should laugh and joke about. You know, hey Steve, found out about you recently and I wound up liking your content. Cheers. I'll be like, oh, thanks, mate. Don't watch the Left 4 Dead stuff, though. You know, don't watch me and Nige playing games. You like this? Don't watch that. There are ways around snarky messages that you can handle. You know, there are ways around offensive messages that you can handle. There are ways around questioning messages that you can handle. But Phil is just not good at any of them because he's so defensive all the time.
What I would say is thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for not listening to the nonsense of the internet and actually coming and giving a chance. And I'm glad to hear that you're having a good time. That's what it's all about. That's all I care about, is that people are coming and chilling and having a good time, man.
Come in.
So he has to paint himself like that to his audience. He has to paint himself like that to the people that are watching, because that's the image he's got. You know, hey guys, I'm here to chill, have a good time, interact with you guys. That's all that matters. Also, tip me. But thing is, should I do it now? Yeah, fuck it, I'm going now. I know we talk a lot about the cult of Pig Roach, but I'm going to look at this from the perspective of his audience again. I'm going to look at this from, for all intents and purposes, the perspective of the cult members. Now, for whatever reason, they've joined the group and they get something from the group. And there are only so many ways you can leave a group. Well, actually, there's probably loads of ways you can leave a group, but there's only so many ways that you can yourself leave a group, you know? And one of those ways is if you've been building up to an event and then that event fails to happen. If you're not invested enough in the group and and the belief that the event will come to pass, then you're more likely to take that disconfirming evidence and accept it, and then leave. But the more involved in the group you are, the harder it is to deal with that cognitive dissonance of this thing that you have believed in so much will happen has not happened. And so instead you will frantically grasp for any explanation, any sort of support, any reason that can explain away the failure or the disconfirming evidence, the contrary opinions, without you having to expend the mental energy of considering it. The big study here in psychology is Leon Festinger's When Prophecy Fails, which I think was 1956. Could be wrong about that. I think I might be getting Festinger and the Sheriffs mixed up. I think Festinger came in the 60s. Either way, Leon Festinger and a couple of his academic colleagues, they found a doomsday cult called the Seekers, who believed that, you know, aliens would come and pick them up before the world would end on a certain date. And they followed a couple of the group knew they were there. The group, you know, invited them, allowed them to do it. They Leon and his friends asked, and they said, yes, you can, you know, you can watch us, you can follow us. Some of them tried to, you know, hey, come in, have a seat, listen. But they kept their eye on a couple of members in particular, and these members were all involved in the group to varying extents. And when the doomsday event didn't happen, people in the group that were sort of on the fringes and you know, were a bit unsure of the claims, and the people who hadn't sold their houses because they thought they were going to be taken up into a spaceship, the people on the fringes left. They were able to accept the disconfirming evidence because they hadn't invested as much of themselves into the belief. But the people closest to the core group, basically the people closest to the preachers of the Seekers, who said this is the date that it will happen and this is how it's going down, they instead found any and all reasons. They reached out and they grasped for any reason whatsoever that could explain why the world didn't end. And it would be stuff like, you know, the aliens saw your display of proselytizing and getting a group together, and they were, you know, impressed, and they realized, you know, humanity can still be saved, so they didn't destroy the world. Stuff like that. You can see this now in how far people have gone to still believe that Donald Trump is going to be president again. These people have invested so much of their identity into the MAGA movement, into Donald Trump as a brand, as a person, as a president, that they cannot accept the idea that he lost and more people voted for the other guy. So they look for stuff like election fraud, or uncertainties in an account, or, you know, this is how you know, we can replace Nancy Pelosi as speaker, and then we can recall Biden and Harris and impeach them, and then reinstall Donald Trump as president. The harder it is to accept the disconfirming evidence, the further and the harder you will reach for explanations and reasons that counter that. So, like, the longer it goes on after the election, the more and more steps are involved in the path to get Donald Trump back to presidency. You know, at first it was just recount here, turn this state, and then boom, we've got the numbers. Then it was recount this, challenge this in court, and then take that to the Supreme Court, and then get this election overturned. And once this election's overturned, the others are questionable, so we can look at them. The longer and longer it goes on, the more and more steps you need to take. And so, with regards to Phil and his group, whenever a detractor comes along and points out, hey, why do you need $9,000 a month? There are so many reasons why by this point. And these people have bought so into Phil for so long that the amount of evidence that it's going to take to disprove them, you might as well not bother at this point, because if there was evidence out there that was going to disconfirm their beliefs, it would probably have happened by now. Most people will be sworn off at some point. Most people have left through some point, and the people that are left now, it's going to take a lot more than, say, Phil beating off, or Phil calling his war dog leader a glory-seeking cunt or whatever, or Phil calling what was that JJ Gaming guy, I think, and, you know, like calling him a kid, and generally being a dick to him. You know, most people have a pivotal point where they've gone, right now, fuck you, Phil, I'm out. And the longer these people have been involved now, the more extreme that point would have to be. Or the more work, the more effort and evidence you would need to slowly walk them through why they're being lied to, and slowly peel back the layers so that they can understand how they've been manipulated and abused by Phil. The longer that's going to take, and the harder it is going to be, because these people are now invested identity into Phil. They are now personally, socially invested in Phil. And when you're in that point, it takes a lot longer. It's a lot harder to get somebody away from them, away from that cause, away from Phil, away from Trump. You know, it's that difficult. So Phil's group now is comprised mainly of a couple of detractors here and there who just, they want to keep an eye on it. They want to be undercover for whatever reason. A couple of fringe people who are sort of on the fence about it, and they will, next time Phil threatens to hit an 11-year-old kid, they'll bail. Or it will be people like OIC who are truly deeply invested in Phil. And it's going to take a lot of effort to get people like that away from Phil. People who are on the fringes, detractors will pull out at any time, Although at this point, I suppose if you're a detractor undercover and you have given money to Phil, you know better than one of his fans, because ultimately you've still given money to Phil. So I would hope the ones that are undercover or have like alternative sock puppet accounts or whatever are just there to take the piss, or to encourage dissent. But because again, that matters. Again, like we see with the conformity things that I didn't mention last time, when Ash varied the amount of people that would disagree. Do you remember the 3 lines, and you had to match the other line? And most of the Confederates would say the wrong answer, and the more of the Confederates that he said give the right answer, the more it took for the lone participant to end up conforming, because they saw other people were actually saying no, 2 is the right answer, not 3. So they would be able to go, well, actually no, 2 is clearly the right answer. And the more and more people that Ash allowed to say give the right answer, the more people would eventually conform to, they would rebel against the conformity. So encouraging dissent is a good way to sort of help break through that. If there are undercover detractors there, it's sort of like, if somebody would ask, why do you need $9,000 a month? The best way to encourage dissent here would be like, yeah, hey, what about this? Or, yeah, hey, I live on $2,000 a month. Or, just generally sort of like provoking and prompting, encouraging responses that make the people there that are invested in it sort of say, hang on a minute. Because again, control to Phil is important. It is essential to him, because it's how he keeps these people coming back to him to give him money. So if that control starts slipping away because there are detractors in the channel going, yeah, why do you need this much? It's harder for him to maintain that control, and it means that there's a greater chance that the people who are giving him a lot of money might suddenly go, hang on a minute, yeah, I'm giving him quite a lot of money here, and pull away. So control is essential to Phil, and that's probably the best way to get around that and sort of encourage people to question him more, because otherwise it's going to take something like him exposing himself online again to make them snap. There's going to need to be a bigger event, and again, there's only so many times he can sort of like humiliate somebody to keep the rest of them in line and have the rest of them go, oh shit, yeah, I'd better not speak out. Eventually more and more people are going to be like, the more extreme his punishments for speaking out are, the more likely people are to go, well, Phil, that's a bit too far, actually. He was only asking you this, you didn't need to ban him. He was only asking you about, like, if you need this much for your bills, how come you spent this much on curry the other day? So encouraging dissent that way is probably the best way to help break people out of pignosis for the moment, because at the moment they're still very deeply invested in this cult of Phil, and the disconfirming evidence isn't powerful enough, and there's been no event to fail in a way that that would shatter their belief or make them question what they previously believed and invested in. So undercover detractor is probably the best way. Just don't give him fucking money, He doesn't need that. But yeah, that's the sort of core components of Phil's audience now. I don't quite know what the ratio would be, but for somebody who's got over 100,000 subscribers on his channel yet struggles to get over 200 on his, you know, in his members on his stream, and what, like maybe 400 viewers tops ever nowadays, that's quite worrying. That's quite indicative of a lot of dead accounts. You know, a lot of accounts that people have forgotten the passwords to. So yeah, his audience is shrinking. The harder it's going to be, the more it shrinks, the harder it's going to be to sort of like break the few remaining people out of Pignosis. But it's not impossible. It's just a thing that you can sort of either encourage explicitly, but then you'd have to go behind the scenes, because obviously the moment Phil sees that, he's going to completely cut it off. He's going to stop it dead. So that would have to be a behind the scenes sort of thing, like maybe you private message someone, and not that you should not private. Just Safari rules, look but don't touch. But you can encourage dissent, you can massage dissent in his chat by just generally sort of agreeing and suggesting and emphasizing and highlighting contrary comments. So yeah, his group is not that cohesive, but it does operate in a very cult-like way, because the manner in which his group members are kept in control and the manner in which they have stuck around is very, very similar to how it works in other cults, like Vestingers. So When Prophecy Fails is a great read. Like it's not even as a psychology text, just as a book on its own. It's really well worth reading. So I'm glad I took the time to read it, because it's a fantastic book. It's one of them that's up there with like Oliver Sacks, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. That's a fucking great novel as well. But anyway, getting off track here, let's carry on with this video, because I've been rambling for like 10-15 minutes now. I feel like Phil on a pre-stream.
Although they all probably have a grain of truth to them, or a piece of truth. That's what it is. They all start with a little bit of something that's true. What do I call it? A nugget of truth. They monstrously extrapolate upon that nugget to blow it out of proportion to be something that's completely untrue, so that they can get clickbait views. That's what they're doing it for, you know?
No. It's not to get clickbait views at all. He has to assume that, because that's what he'd do. You know, for him it's all about views. He has that view-centric view. It's all about day one views. It's all about getting the videos out as soon as you can for him. It always has been. So to him, if you're making content, you're doing it to chase views. I can't be doing this to critically analyze Phil because people like it. I'm doing it to chase views, you know. And so the idea that we take a nugget of truth and then expand upon it to ridiculous extents is fucking projection, considering who we are talking about here. Somebody who will take a nugget of truth and expand upon it. In fact, no, fuck it. He doesn't even need the nugget of truth. Somebody asked him why he needs £9 a month, and he immediately jumped to, you're living in your parents' basement, you've got no life, you don't know how to budget, fuck off, you know. So he doesn't even need the nugget of truth. But the fact that there's a nugget of truth at all is very, very revealing. Because if you're not racist, if you're not sexist, if you're not saying homophobic things, why is there that thing that looks like you are? Why is there footage of you saying that word if you're not that? You know, why are you saying a homophobic slur? Why are you acting in a way that's homophobic if you're not? Why are you saying a word that sounds a bit racist if you're not racist? You know, like, oh, I'm not explicitly racist. I just put on a fake Chinese accent whenever there's an Asian-looking person on the screen in the game. You know, fuck you, sleeping dogs. Metal Gear Solid. Oh, I'm not homophobic. I just will put on a lisp. You know, so if there's a nugget of truth, Phil, why is there a nugget of truth? Never mind all the stuff that comes after it. Why is there a nugget of truth?
Oh, there we go. There is stuff here. They want that clickbait view. They want to get that popularity on YouTube for drama garbage. And sadly, I'm the butt of the joke, and I'm always the one that has to take the... Oh, there we go. A new Aura asset. Beautiful. I'm the one who has to take the pain for it.
You made this yourself. You made this bed yourself. You're the butt of the internet, you know? You are the punchline of the internet. Sorry, you're the butthole of the internet. You're the punchline of the internet because of your actions, and these are the consequences of them. And not everybody does this for views. I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this because I find you psychologically intriguing on so many levels. And I've now found a way that I can express that, you know, and share it with other people, because I want to know that I'm not the only one who thinks like this. I like to know that there are other people that also think, yeah, he's a fucking narcissist, this bloke, you know. And I like to engage with those people and sort of share content with them, and people like this stuff, so I like doing it. I'm not doing it for views, I'm doing it because people enjoy it and I like doing it. So it's his view-centric perspective that only ever sees things financially. We're doing it for the money, because drama is easy money. Chasing drama gets you money, and therefore we're doing it for views, we're doing it for clicks, we're doing it for the cash, you know. Here comes the money, here we go, here comes the money.
They don't get anything negative out of lying or extrapolating or making me look bad. I'm the one, right?
Wait, no, why? If something was objectively provably a lie, right? If somebody had slandered you in one of these videos, you would sue them. If you genuinely truly felt like you had been slandered, you would find the resources to sue that person, you know. If you honestly believed that you had a legal leg to stand on against somebody like, say, Snort Burnell or Soma Julius Cruz, you would go after them. You would find that money because you legitimately believed it to be true. And we know that because you have done previously. You've been baited and trapped into wanting to get Snort Burnell's videos taken down. You've tried to get This Is How You Don't Plays taken down. You have done that. So, yeah. Fuck off, Phil. Just fuck off with that shit. We're not slandering you. It's just fair criticism. It's comment, it's criticism. It's allowed because you have made yourself a public figure. You have opened yourself up to this. You have lived your life in a way that has been excessively public at times. So you have to accept that people are going to respond to that because you're putting it out there. So when people do, you can't complain about it. You can't be upset that not everybody is going to agree with it. But he will get defensive because he's a narcissist. Doesn't like criticism in any way. And it just keeps going deeper. This just reluctance to accept criticism keeps going deeper. I would be perfectly happy for another psychologist to come in with a video about DSP and react to me saying, nah, I disagree with your take here, because that's what we do. You know, that's what psychology is. It's somebody proposing a theory and then somebody else going, no, you're full of shit, here's my theory. And then somebody else throws in another theory. It's great. It's great to hear contrary views. It's great to hear other opinions. You know, when you have a healthy enough psyche, you can accept and absorb them into yourself, you know, into your mental makeup. But as a narcissist, you're so defensive and aggressive that you can't take anything. You can't take any criticism, you know. I have taken criticism on this. Like, in my first criticism, I talked a lot over film, so now I've been really conscious of it. And I've stopped it more often when I want to talk. Well, occasionally sort of during, but I'll try to minimize it. Yeah, I've also got a new mic because somebody said in my previous video, your mic shit. I'm like, I know, mate. I'm sorry, I'm stuck with this. But yeah, you know, criticism is easy to accept most of the time. It's not always, but most of us can ultimately accept it because we have healthy psychological builds and healthy mental makeup. But Phil doesn't, so he's immediately defensive, and his projection of that into us is very revealing because he assumes that we're going to be like that as well. And so that's why he assumes we're chasing views too, because he would.
So it is what it is, and there's nothing I can really do to fight it. I'm going to hire a team of lawyers to stop people making false videos about me on YouTube. I'm just going to do my own thing, you know?
But you could have. If you genuinely felt it. If you genuinely felt like something was slander, you would. Because if you have a legal case for slander, you fucking chase it. You know, if your copyright was in danger, you would chase it. You know, if your intellectual property was being stolen, you would chase it. So the fact that you don't know you don't means that you know you don't have a leg to stand on. You know that you have no basis. Your belief is unjustified, but you can't accept that that belief is unjustified. So you deflect it onto, I can't afford a lawyer, or YouTube's shit and it wouldn't let me anyway, or YouTube always sides with them. There is always an explanation for why you didn't do it, even though you genuinely believe that you should. Deep down you're not, but you can't accept that, so you deflect.
So I want to say thanks for coming by and chilling with me and understanding that not everything you hear is necessarily 100% true. Probably 10% true. I'll go that far.
Oh, right, okay. So you're only 10% racist. Only 10% racist. Only 10% homophobic. The rest is us. You can't cop to a tiny amount of truth. There's either... If someone's accusing you of the things that you are normally being accused of scamming your fans and of being racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever, you can't cop to a little bit of that. You have to accept it's either all or none, because these are all or none things. You either are racist or you're not. You either are homophobic or you're not. You either are sexist or you're not. You either are scamming your fans or you're not. So... in these situations, you can't cop to 10% culpability. You have to accept all of it, because there is always grounds for these claims in the first place. If you are saying there is 10% of this is legitimately true and I did do it, then there's grounds to look at the other 90% and evaluate that as well. So if it's all sprung from that 10%, there's probably some validity to it. There's probably some truth to it. Also, because it just is... Because I nearly tripped up then. I remember when I was watching him streaming Fallout before, and I realised he pronounced it Legionaries instead of Legionnaires, and it really fucked me off. And it's not sedentary, it's sedentary. That fucks me off as well. It's sedentary, Phil. You live a sedentary lifestyle, not sedentary. And it's herb, not herb. Herb. There's a H there. Arrgh! Watching his FIFA, This Is How You Don't Play, as a Brit, was painful. Swansea City.
Don't just make shit up out of thin air. Usually they'll take something that happened that's true, but then completely blow it out of proportion,
But it's still true.
Yeah, maybe I said a certain thing on stream that was stupid. Let's make it seem like something that it really wasn't.
He's minimizing the impact of his words. He is a man who has a pride slide in his pre-stream artwork that says, this is a safe space for you and everybody's welcome here, and I don't care about your gender identity or your sexual identity or your sexual orientation or anything like that. You are all welcome here. This is a safe space for you. And he will lisp. He will do a homophobic, effeminate lisp, and he will then say, he's blowing it out of proportion. It's like, no, you fucking hypocrite. We are pointing out that it is basically hypocritical. It's wrong of you to do that if you have that slide, because you are claiming ally status and then acting in a completely homophobic way. For example, I know there's a couple of clips here and there of him saying racial words. There's clips of him saying the R word, for... I did a compilation. The R word for mental health issues. For that's offensive to people who might be on the autistic spectrum or people who may have developmental problems. There are examples of him being sexist. There are examples of him being racist. But as far as he's concerned, that's only 10%, and everything else is blown out of proportion. Even though he's proclaiming that he's a safe space and he doesn't care who you are, he just wants you to come in and chill and have fun with him. And it's pointing out the hypocrisy of that to him is blowing it out of proportion. It's only 10% racist. He didn't mean it, even though he continues to perpetuate it. He didn't use hateful slurs, even though he would read out chats and tips and things that had slurs in them, and he didn't have to, but he would. He would use them himself. He would offend. He would insult and hurl slurs at his chat, but he didn't use racial slurs. So pointing that out is blowing it out of proportion. It's not pointing out hypocrisy. It's not giving him evidence of times when he did. It's not saying you're wrong about this. It's blowing it out of proportion because he can't be wrong about it.
Right? Phil will say a random joke and then somehow they blow it into being something it's not and make drama about it for their videos, which is absolutely correct. It's what they do 100%.
Sorry. Just seen the comment. I saw one on accident where they clipped Phil saying he loved a body part of Hulk Hogan and it was stupid just for cheap laughs. Shout out to Selma Julius Cruz. Oh, I fucking love that one.
The point is, I don't even care anymore. Like, I really don't give a fuck what those idiots say or do. They make their videos endlessly and circle jerk each other. They're not really affecting me. As long as every once in a while someone gives me an actual chance to come check out my content and realizes that what they say is not 100% truth, you know, I'm happy.
But imagine you came to check out his stuff. Imagine you sort of heard on the grapevine about this guy, and you were like, "What's all the fuss about? I'll go check out one of his streams." And you come in, and he's having a go at that guy for asking about why he needs $9,000 a month, and he's calling him a loser. And he's calling this guy a no-life who doesn't know how to budget. And he's saying that this guy attacked him first. And how, oh, you're a pussy because, you're just a bully. And when you're given your medicine, you can't take it. Imagine this is your first experience of Darkside Phil. What impression are you supposed to take from that? And Phil doesn't ever consider that because as far as he's concerned, if you don't like him, you can fuck off. Because he's got his group of people now. He's got his whales. They'll pay. He's going to make his money. And if he doesn't, he'll just send out a tweet and somebody will come around and drop off 70 quid. So, if that's your first impression of Phil, why should he bother putting the effort in to not do that? Because, it's his kingdom. He can do what he wants. And he doesn't give much thought to trying to attract new people. Otherwise, he'd have comments on. he'd let people interact. He wouldn't have a dead chat like this. So, I hate the way he is with his. They've invested in him, and he's manipulating them.
Another super chat. He says, "Why are people so obsessed with you to make videos?" It's two groups of people. It's either a group of people who just want to create drama on the internet to get their own views and popularity based off of that. So they think, oh, create drama around content creators and be able to make money off of it. That's literally one of them. That's the only purpose behind it. The other group is sadly a group of people who become obsessed about me. They, over the years, have somehow latched on to me. Don't ask me why, because I'm certainly not a popular guy or anything. But they've latched on to me in a very negative way. They follow every little thing I do. They try to basically micromanage every piece of my life and try to find out every piece of information they can to try to hurt me. They've created an entire community around it. There's entire forums based on this.
Nobody wants to hurt you. We want consequences. You've gotten away with this behavior for so long that we either want to see you, actually punished for it because we think it's wrong that you scam your fans out of so much money and you're such an entitled prick that you're an asshole to them. Or, we want you to fail. We want you to go away. We're not obsessed with you, though. We do other stuff as well. Like, I've got other shit to do. Not just this. I'm fed up with this. Every time, it's his defense mechanism. Again, how many more ways can I say this is how he protects himself because he can't consider that anybody normal might have a disagreement with him. Anybody that falls under his definition of a normal, healthy life might disagree with him for some reason. So therefore, the only people who could disagree with him, the only people that could have a problem with him must be mentally ill. I don't know how many more ways there are to say it.
They're messed up in the head. These people who have really huge, deep-rooted issues in them.
Projection. Serious projection here. Although you are starting to sound like a couple of my exes, Phil.
have created their own community because essentially they can't have real relationships in real life, so they have this online-based community of hate.
Well, like yours. It's a fucking projection. The actual projection. He sits there in a gated house with his own community that exists only to suck the shit out of his ass so that he doesn't have to bother wiping. And he projects a community of people who don't have healthy social relationships outside of the internet, who exist only to torment him. You just can't be a normal person who thinks he's an arsehole, you know? You have to be mentally ill in order to be a detractor, as far as Phil is concerned. You can't just be a bloke or a woman or whatever gender identity you want and think Phil is a dick, you know? You can't. It's impossible, as far as he's concerned. If you have healthy relationships outside, if you have friends, you have relatives, and you have partners, you know, you got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're married, maybe, might be divorced, who knows? You can't ever have a problem with Phil. Think about how ridiculous that sounds. You're just a normal person, and you can't think that Phil's an arsehole. You have to be mentally ill in order to think there's something wrong with Phil. You have to be mentally ill in order to have a problem with Phil. You can't just be a regular person who thinks he's a prick.
It's disgusting. People who are outsiders to internet culture have seen this and looked at it and said, this is like a cesspool of messed up people. Where did they come from? They've all latched together. It's messed up. It really is disgusting. And I really don't like talking about it because it's scary when you really think about how messed up this situation is. But I just live on with my own life, man. You know, I don't dwell on it. So...
Ego defense right there.
Yes, these people, these conspiracy theorist nut jobs are now saying that he's been to my house multiple times. What is wrong with people? I've never met Only Iced Coffee in person ever. I've never spoken with him ever. The most I've ever spoken to him is in chat or through an email.
I can't prove this, but I like to think this is partly because of me and Super Crazy. You know, he did a video about Only Iced Coffee, and then I did a video involving Only Iced Coffee and say, look, Phil, there's a real chance that this bloke could turn up at your door. Because that's the conclusion that me and Super Crazy. We did it, mate. We made it. Fucking yes. Come on. Fucking made it. I mean, I know it's not. It's probably because of the Frank Hassel stuff that he's on. He's a bit paranoid about it right now. But because he's explicitly mentioned Only Iced Coffee there and coming to his house, I think somebody in that chat has seen my video or has seen Super Crazy's video. I can't prove it, but I'm going to believe it because it makes me feel like I've made it. I love you guys.
That's it. There's been no crazy clandestine meetings. This is what I mean. But these people create this insane narrative, and this becomes groupthink, and they believe it's true. Just because a bunch of people talk about it and say it, it must be true. They're that.
It's not groupthink, it's conformity. For fuck's sake. It's not groupthink. Groupthink is the inability to consider alternatives. Groupthink is the inability for a leader of some form to consider alternative suggestions that might be brought to him by his underlings. And because the pressure to conform to the leader's vision is overwhelming, other people who might bring it forward alternative ideas or critically assess actions and opinions can't speak up. So the group ends up following blindly the leader. What you are talking about here is conformity, when a belief is considered to be true amongst a great population. When the population believes it, it's conformity. Groupthink is the process that leads to conformity. Groupthink is a process that is driven by the desire, well, not the desire, the urge, the emphasis, the driving power behind falling into line. You know, you cannot question the direction that the group is taking. You cannot question the decisions that the group is making. That is groupthink. The idea that the group believes, the group all believing that idea, that's conformity. It's not difficult, Phil. It's just another one of those words that you don't know the meaning of, so you end up using it incorrectly. And it gets on my tits. Which, by the way, aren't as big as yours or Cats. I know you can't see it, but you know. Oh, fuck. Fuck, that hurt. Anyway.
They're that nuts. Pretty funny. But anyway, it's also scary as shit. Alright.
One council is better than zero. Where am I headed?
He could be in the executive's office. It's a fairly defensible position.
I'm on it. Just a
Okay.
sec. There. Now we can talk by Omnitool. Go.
Cool. At least Bailey will be safe. Dirty says, if you haven't met him in person, how do you know he only takes his coffee iced? Checkmate. Dun, dun, dun. What is my favorite color? I don't have one. I would argue red, blue, and black are all my favorite colors.
Actually, I think I'm more or less done now. Yeah, that was the last bit, I think. Although I have paused on a really good point, because like Ryan Wilson says, if you repeat a lie multiple times, it becomes fact. Again, through conformity, through Ash's studies, we know this is true. If you repeat it more and more and more, chances are people are going to conform to the idea. So, yeah. The social dynamics of groups is quite interesting. As a forensic psychologist, it's not my main area, but going through the psychology was an area that I was interested in as well. I was interested quite a lot. Obviously, psychology is really interesting as a subject as a whole. I just specialised in forensic. There were lots of other things I liked as well. So, applying those theories to Phil's group is always interesting to me, because the dynamics involved within Phil's group and how you end up coming to be part of it, and how you stay there, and how you avoid getting kicked out or publicly humiliated. They're always quite interesting. And again, the dynamics between Phil and his audience. Fucking really bad itch there. They're also interesting to me, because obviously with the power imbalance comes more different dynamics in play. So you have to look at Phil differently. And I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover. Nothing's really coming to mind right now. I will be taking another look at Phil and his fans in terms of from Phil's perspective as a cult leader, as it were, you know, because this time I've sort of looked at the group rather than the individual. I think next time I should probably look at the individual rather than the group, but that might be a different video, because I do also want to talk about Phil and Kat and Liana. I think I want to do that next. So assuming he does not doing anything really fucking stupid right now on his begathon, then yeah, the next video will probably be about Phil and Kat and Liana. So yeah, I think I've covered most things. I just wanted to give a big up to Hate Army Watch, whose video I've just nicked and essentially reacted to. This video turned out a lot longer than I thought it would be. So I'm gonna have fun editing this one. But yeah, I just wanted to say thanks everybody for watching. My Twitter feed is currently closed, but it will hopefully be open one day. So yeah, cheers for watching everybody. Hope you enjoy an orange flavoured drink and a big bag of Doritos. So pig ups everybody to play us out.
It's annoying to being a target of harassment for supporting you. People think I go to your wife's work and talk to her. They think every big contribution is me. Your trolls are the reason why this world sucks. No, they're just messed up people in the head, man. They do it on purpose. They make stuff up so they have stuff to talk about, because there's nothing going on, right? There's nothing going on right now. We're having fun with games.
There's nothing going on. You're currently begging for $1.50 and eating a curry. There's always something going on with you. There's always some sort of, I need help with this, I need help with that. Oh God, I've got these bills due. Guys, I really need to make the tips goal. We didn't do it last night, so this week I need this much, and now I've raised it to 150 again after bringing it down from 200 after I left Twitch. We don't need to make anything up. You make it up yourself. You provide genuinely hours and hours of content because you're a fucking knob. Good night, everybody.
I'm a little skeptical. Wings ate my chili. Did a super chat and says, Do I have DSP as a tag word on video uploads or my streams? Yes. It's by default. It's already in there. Like anything that I do, whether it's video upload or stream, already has DSP in there, but it still won't show up in search.
Yeah, it's because your fucking tags suck
It will not show up in search because of the nature of that. The way that YouTube works, the nature of the search engine is such a piece of donkey shit, and I mean that. It's written by a bunch of fucking bookworm nerds who don't understand how the site works. Nerds. So they don't understand that someone can take a tag and put it in derogatory shit more than the person who's positive, and then it becomes their tag basically.
Bookworm nerds.
That's how bad the fucking the system is. They're morons basically. Again, they're book smart, not street smart. They know how to write.
You gotta
code
be street smart to write code.
Work versus how it actually works on the real site. They don't.
Don't you understand?
So
you gotta be
no,
street
you can't
smart.
really search for anything.
That's how you write code.
Just on the site, and it won't come up me. Seriously, it won't. You search for a live stream, search for my video, DSP, it will never come up. It won't.
Well, it'll actually show up. I mean, you gotta scroll for
There's
it.
am I feeling like returning to the old batting settings? I don't know. I'll give it another shot, but
look at this.
Doing me much better.
We got,
it seriously isn't. It seems to be just as bad.
Let's shut him up for a second. We got Sort Brunel, Super Crazy, Hate Army Watch, Raw DSP, and this is like altered by mine. So like I influence a lot of this. Full Stack Academy. Look at that. Digital signal processing comes up. This is kind of part the problem, DSP, when you have a fucking name as DSP. Shit that's related to fucking where
would quite like to end on a bit of a serious note. Many of you might know that Sunspot Gallery has stopped doing the Bacon Sweat series. I quite like the Bacon Sweat series, they were pretty good. So obviously that kind of sucks. But for me, Bacon Sweat was quite important because it was the first thing I saw where I thought you can bring new voices to the detractor crowd. It seemed like, you know, they were... most of the creators had sort of settled now, and so you know you knew what you were getting from who, and there wasn't really, you know, things were just chugging along like normal. There wasn't really much else that was new coming into the community. And then I saw Bacon Sweats and I thought, you really can, you can bring in new voices, new perspectives, new videos, new creators. So through him I found Super Crazy because he gave a community shout out, and on the Super Crazy video I sort of realised, hang on a minute, I can do something here. The direction that Super Crazy was taking sort of inspired me, and so I did my first video, well, not really my first video, my second video, but you know, my first like this. And then Sunspot Gallery gave us a shout out using one of his community posts, and that really helped, you know. I've got a lot of subs now. I've got over 500 subscribers, and that's mental to me. And I owe that to Sunspot Gallery for, you know, giving me the idea that you can do something new, and then giving me a shout out once I had tried something new. And, you know, I feel like they contributed towards the community like that. They elevated smaller creators. They, you know, shouted out other people, and you know, we should shout out other people as well, you know, and we should look out for each other and elevate smaller, newer creators as well, and sort of bring them up with us, because everybody can bring something new, you know, and the more channels we've got, the more content, the wider variety of stuff, the better the chance you'll find something you really like, and that's everybody wins. So, you know, I feel like Sunspot Gallery really contributed to the community more than just a video series. And you know, it kind of sucks that they're gone, and you know, I personally owe them quite a lot, and wherever I go now, you know, however many subs I end up having before whatever end up happening to my channel, it'll be because of Sunspot giving me a shout out. So you know, I owe them. And yeah, I understand why. I mean, Phil is an incredibly toxic individual. Being immersed in him for that long, that often, can wear you down. So I totally understand why you'd want to tap out, and I say thank you for, you know, the series that you brought, and the way you were, and you know, the positive aspects that you brought to the community. And personally, thank you for lifting me up and exposing me to a wider audience of people. So thanks, Sunspot Gallery. Take it easy, friend.